it's 3 o'clock. So I am going to call in order the open session of the assessors meeting. Do I have,
Second.
we have a request to address the board, a submission from Mr. J. Ferrera to speak about the assistant assessor position. So I'd like to start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. So my request to address the board is simple in nature, but can be complex. In terms of the position, the vacant position for the assistant assessor, I realize that it's under your purview to solicit and appoint that position. The position has been vacant for a little bit over a year now, in a few months. And there's certainly a need to have the office staffed on a regular basis for the residents and the public of Warren. With that being said, I know that we had recently filled the position of the clerical position when that became vacant not too long ago. That person is working part-time for the town in that capacity, and is here on regular hours, but not in a full-time capacity. And prior to this board, there was another board that had some vacancies on it, and now we finally have a full board. And I'd like to thank every board member for their willingness to serve and their courageous effort of jumping right in to learning something that they may or may not know, the assessor's office, the inner workings of that. And so I know that there's some statutory requirements that you have to have in terms of possessing some training and some skills, and I think that the town has provided some opportunities, whether it be through the retaining of a consultant to kind of get the board ramped up in their efforts to learn the position, and to try to help out and to get that certification as required of you of board members. So I thank you and I commend you for your efforts and in your willingness to do all of this. However, I would like to have a better understanding from the board what their philosophy, mindset for the assistant assessor's position, to understand if the board plans on offering a solicitation soon, if the board plans on moving in a different direction or a different model. One model that is unique and a neighboring community has done. West Brookfield has basically brought in a vendor or a private entity to come in and do their operation side of the assessing office. That is certainly a model that if the board decides not to fill the assistant assessor position and to move into that approach, that is something that that we could plan for and work together on, to move in that direction. I understand that the board had made a request to go out for a solicitation to continue to retain that consultant. you know, that has been working with the board. And we can certainly do that, and issue that out. But I'd like to see and try to get a gauge as to, you know, would that make sense if the board is gonna be deciding to move in the direction of hiring an assistant assessor? Should we wait to get that process played out so that person can also be involved in the training aspect of things and have an opportunity to learn that position? Or does the board feel as though that, you know, they do not want to fill that position and move in a different direction, a model that may be similar to West Brookfield's approach? I don't know. And so being a small community like we are, you know, doing these types of procurement things, doing these types of solicitation is time consuming, and is involved. And I think instead of just us putting it out there, if I could get a better understanding as to where the board wants to move in this direction, I think would be helpful. You know, one of the concerns that I know that I have, and I don't know if Ray wanted to add on to this as well, but it was brought up at the FinCom, and I think Deborah, you were there. You know, some of the FinCom members had mentioned, you know, board members, you know, come and go. You know, they could get elected, they could not get reelected, and you know, if we're continuing to, you know, spend money on these consultants, and board members leave or decide not to run, we've lost that institutional knowledge. We've lost that money there that we've invested in these board members. Whereas an assistant assessor, a full-time employee, you know, more than likely that person has a little bit more grounding and standing and more ties to the position. So that is one thing that that I wanted to mention and to try to learn from the board where they are. I see that Chris is here, and Chris has approached me on a couple different things, and I don't mean to put Chris on the spot, but Chris had came to me and his interest in serving in the town in some capacity or another. And you know, I had reviewed his resume on a different matter, and I was really thoroughly impressed with his demeanor and his resume. And you know, I encourage anybody who lives in town to apply for town jobs. I think that's one of my you know, requirements as being the cheerleader for the town, and especially when there's local talent involved. And so I think Chris had forwarded you his resume upon my, you know, recommendation to him. You know, he seemed like he was interested in serving in the town in one capacity or another. And you can certainly review his resume on your own, you know, time and make your own, you know, determinations or review of that as you will. You know, I'm simply here to learn about what the board's position is and what direction the board is headed.
So just so you know, this is the first time all three of us have been together, and we haven't even spoken to Christian or had conversation with Christian about this position. Most of the time the positions were with us or with Dawn, and we were going to wait till we had a new member on board. I know personally for me, looking at the job, being able to try to figure out what needed to be done, I honestly don't feel that I kind of turned around when I was thinking about the position. that the position doesn't really hold having two full-time people in it. That it might be better served or looking at another model. We are gathering data on how many people come in, and I feel that if there's some way you can do another way of a position that could save the town, look at other options to save the town money, then we should look at those options.
Could you elaborate on, you mentioned that the position doesn't require two full-time people.
Well,
I'm confused.
I'm sorry, I don't mean two full-time. I think with Jackie's position and the 35, it comes to, 50-something hours for the two positions. And right now, in the office, I even think that during the summer, we should be looking at going to some kind of summer hours because of the traffic that comes in, or lack of traffic that comes in.
What about the email traffic?
We don't have a lot of email traffic as well. And to sit here to say we've discussed it all, or we've gathered all that data, I think part of what we were hoping to do, or I was hoping to do, is to gather and collect all that data and make a presentation. What should we do? This is what we have coming in. This is what we have going out. What do we need to have in this office? And I have to say, none of that has been done. We are starting. We do have a logbook where we log everything that comes in, all the messages that come in. We have our emails. We look at what we're doing. Right now, if we didn't have a big project for Jackie to do, which was mapping coming in, she'd be sitting here most of the time doing that.
Well, I mean, I know that I have, received, some concerns from other departments that, that, they would get some overflow from the assessors, from the public looking to, get a application or have a question or leave a message. And so that was one of the real pushes that we had to fill the part-time position there.
Because the motor vehicle is in about 4 or 5, 7 times a year. And during that time, you're going to get an influx of people coming in for motor vehicles. So you can, in this office, you can tell when it's going to be a big rush, when it's not. It's depending on what there is and what needs to be done. And honestly, like I said, we haven't, 3 of us have talked. I haven't had a chance to pull that all together, the data. And I think it should be based on the data and the movement of the office. I do like the idea of resetting the position and seeing what would work best for the town. That's where I stand on that. So if another person came in, if something came in other than that, that might be a direction to go in, or lessen hours, or I think there's a lot of possibilities.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said from the beginning, I mean, it has been vacant for quite some time, and I realize that there's new people that came on and the board had changed. I think for a management and a logistical standpoint, we're looking to kind of get a clear direction of where the board's headed with this.
And I think we need to talk, but Christian, please.
So what hours of the day is the clerk presently in?
She's presently doing 9 to 1.
All 4 days that the municipal building is open?
Yes, she is.
And if we didn't have some big project, we feel that she wouldn't have anything to do?
No, she wouldn't. Not for this period of time. That's why I think even going to summer hours.
So if there was a stronger full-time presence in the office with an individual who was, had received adequate training in all of this business to take care of additional things, could they help? I guess for me, I've been approached by various members of the public, who have expressed various frustrations with trying to get any different matter settled with the Board of Assessors, and having been met with frustration.
It's interesting, I mean,
Me neither, so I don't.
I've never heard of anyone approaching myself in the last year and a half, and I'm not sure how that looks. I mean, if there's an issue with the assessor and the timely resolution of a request, whether it be an abatement or
Mhm.
title property or all that, we're aware of it. I mean, we know about it, and it's logged into the book. And so I assume these things you're referencing have been logged in, or they've made it.
Well, I
To this
assume so.
office?
One individual filled an application to change the designation of his land from recreational to forestry, and the paperwork, he received a tax bill for the recreational tax rate, and when he spoke with the assessor's office, they told him just to pay the bill, and they'll fix it later, right? It's just instances like that.
Okay, so I would like to address that issue. So when there is chapter land, it is for the following fiscal year, 2026, which starts July 1st. All chapter land property, and this month we will be doing it, changes over at that time. That person, and I have even spoken to the forester about it, and I believe we got him to understand. Like, if I never had chapter land, ever, and I applied for a 61B for 2026, that would not come off of my preliminary billing, because during the preliminary assessment, I did not have chapter land. So he is not the only one. That changes after July 1st. He can't have a benefit before the benefit takes effect.
And that
And
makes
that's what
sense.
he was told.
Okay.
And I spoke to his forester as well. That is just what it is.
Right, I understand, and it makes sense. I couldn't speak on it because I didn't know how that process worked. But when I made the decision to get involved, I'm active in the community. I solicited signatures.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
people who I introduced myself to as wanting to run for Board of Assessors and all this, they
Mhm.
know that I got involved. So people
Right.
like to talk about different, things pertaining to town life.
Right,
And
That's
so
wonderful.
sometimes things like that come up.
Right. but yeah,
No,
so we
I-
would never
yes.
tell anyone just pay the bill. That
Okay.
wouldn't be appropriate, but I did try to explain to him, that is how it works.
No, I understand. That was just an example
Okay,
for Jack, because he was.
Yeah, I mean-
Things have been long, but there's been other instances, I brought it up in my email, where we told an attorney from the town of Ware that the office did not have the resources to meet her request.
right,
And so it just felt like people were getting an unnecessary amount of runaround, and that seemed to reflect a staffing or operational deficiency within the office.
okay, and I'd like to address that.
Okay.
This person was looking for research from 1800s and wanted to know something about the Beagle Club. We do not have records that go back as far as she wanted. We worked with her. I gave her reference to our mappers, who tried to look in their resources for mapping, and they also said they could not find. I also referred her to the Registry of Deeds, which she told me she had already looked. We don't have those resources to go that back in time to find things for people. That's not what the office is to do.
I understand, but the mapping software wasn't developed 100 years ago. So sometime within recent memory, as the mappers indicated in their reply, they were provided with a survey that allowed them to set the boundary lines with such precision. And they
know that?
indicated in their email that they would return those records to our office, and instead we pointed the woman in 10 different directions, and
That property is not surveyed. It's on the map, and it's done to the best of their ability. It's not a surveyed property. That is something that he pointed out to me. But I understand what you're saying, but I am trying in the office to make better way for our maps to get done right now. We don't have mapping that goes back that far. Jackie right now is working on actually putting in old mapping parcels because we changed mappers, but we didn't connect the new mapping parcels to the old parcels. So she's working on trying to connect that. So if we have old documents, we'll know where it went to.
Okay. I guess ultimately, my concern is that we have a line item in the budget approved from the municipal government for an assistant assessor's position. And I don't advocate for a use it or lose it mentality as pertains to municipal finance, but that money is at our disposal if we were to decide to fill the position, get an individual trained through training that all of us as a group, or myself especially since I'm new, could also benefit from at the same time. And then as we're moving forward, make decisions, well, you know, the assessor's office is overstaffed, and then, you know, I fail to see how we're serving the needs of the town by taking more time to say, well, let's reflect and gather data and decide if maybe we can save the town a few bucks by, you know, totally remaking the staffing. It seems to me that if we have the ability to staff the office with an individual who's qualified, and especially someone who's a resident of the town and whose knowledge could carry forth into posterity, it seems that we'd be doing the town a service. They've already approved that line item, and then we can make more decisions. If we continue to stall, I feel that we're ultimately doing more harm than good. That's my ultimate position on it.
It's noted.
Thank you.
Well, if I may, I think we've established the fact that this position is feast or famine. So there's a lot of time where there is really nothing to do, whether it be for the secretary or whether it be for Jackie here or the assistant. So those are the facts. So I'm not sure of the need of a full-time assessor. And as far as saving the town money, I don't consider the salary plus benefits a small amount of money, to be honest with you. And who ultimately pays for that are the taxpayers of the town. So if there is a need, I certainly would discuss with Deborah and agree that this should be filled, but at this point, I mean, from what I see, and from what demands there are on me, the demands of my time are minimal, and I'm willing to put more skin in the game, put more hours in to contribute, but at this point, I'm you know, it would seem to be unnecessary.
I think we should have time to look at the data. It's not that far away, and look at it reasonably and see what we need. I'd like to look at other options. People have shared that Amherst has an interesting option. I think it's okay to look back and take a moment and reset when we have an opportunity to reset and look at the needs.
Well, yeah, that's perfectly fine, you know, if that's the board's wishes. You know, I want to be clear that, you know, the amount of money that we're spending in consultants, or the consultant, you know, in my opinion, could be better used if you're going to go down that model of filling the assistant assessor position, to have all the training done at the same time, as opposed to, well, we're gonna have the boards getting trained now, and then in October, we're gonna hire the assistant assessor, and then we're gonna have to bring back the consultant to train the assistant assessor, where the board's already been trained. I don't know what model you're looking
Right,
at.
but I don't know where you're getting this consultant from either.
I'm sorry?
Where are you getting the consultant from?
The consultant that was requested for me to go out for an RFP.
I said that I thought that money was lost.
What money was lost?
I don't, know what I'm confused. So right now, as far as I thought.
I don't know
there
what you
was
mean
no-
by
There was
lost
no
money.
consultant, as far as I know, for this fiscal year, there is no consultant.
I don't know what you mean by that. So I know that when the board was in transition, I had made a recommendation that the board retain some type of neighboring assessor. And I believe the board had retained Diane Bishop
Right.
services
Mhm.
for training and getting the board up to
Mhm.
date. She is a full-time principal assessor in the town of East Long Meadow. And so her services were acquired for what was meant to be a temporary or part-time, allotment. And so the board had then wanted to continue on, and I had made it clear to the board at the time, or to the chair at the time, that during the budget season, if this person was to go over $10,000, that we, as the town, have to comply with Chapter 30B of the procurement laws, and that if this is what the board wants to do, then we're going to have to open up a formal, solicitation for price quotes for these services. And so when I was asked to do that, I wanted to kind of get an idea of where the board is with filling the assistant position, because I think it's more of a benefit for the town if you're going to fill the assistant position, that everybody can participate into that training, and not just board members that may decide to run again, may not decide to run, may change their mind on their position. Having the assistant assessor being trained at the same time, I think would have more value
Yeah.
to it.
So I am still confused, because when we asked for training and the town was great to give that to us, that was during a fall meeting. They did grant a certain amount of money. My understanding was that if that money was not used in the fiscal year, that money could not be carried over to fiscal year 2026.
So that all came from the expenses of your expense account. So the expense account is something that gets replenished every July 1st.
Right.
So if you're using your expense account to pay for this, then you have an onslaught of new money now.
Right, but we don't have money in our budget for that kind of consulting. We don't
Well,
have
that's
any-
where you paid for it before.
But we didn't put it in our budget we had to have a tight budget last year,
Okay, so then why did you ask for the services?
because we were still in June of
Yeah, but
2025.
you asked for the services recently
No, because,
through a
No.
procurement.
okay, it's because you asked for it.
Right, if you're going to continue on with the
Right.
services.
It was a misunderstanding. I thought it was over, that there was no consulting
Once you
fee.
hit a threshold of $10,000 or more, you have to by law
I
comply with
understand.
Chapter 30B.
I
And I was
understand.
advising the board at the time that we have to comply with 30B. And that was done, I think we did that maybe in March or April when we were talking with FinCom about the fiscal year 26 budget. So I gave you like a heads up. And then when I got the request for the solicitation, I paused because I wanted to kind of get an understanding from the board, what are you guys gonna do
You
with the
asked for
assistant
that in
position?
July 1st,
Right,
meaning that, from my understanding, because I did try to talk to Madeline a little bit about it, that money was lost. And that is not money
Oh,
that we
okay,
could
okay.
use.
No, I see what's happening. You felt that there was 5,000 additional monies remaining in the previous year's expense account to use for training or whatever.
That's what
And-
my understanding was, because we went to
I
the
don't know,
meeting.
I mean,
So I'm sorry, maybe there was a
in
misunderstanding.
the email, you said something about a grant, so I was really confused about a grant money being lost and that we were.
Well, so I said grant. I meant the money that we had requested, that the town had approved for us to have.
Yeah, so
So as far as I know, there is no money for the kind of consulting in our budget, because we were told that we had to have a very fine budget, so that's what we did. So I don't.
So fiscal year '26, there's no consulting,
There is
Budgeted.
$3,000, but it's for more of putting on workshops for the residents.
so there's
Doing
no
things-
more training
no,
for the board or anything?
no. No.
Okay, so I don't know what the solicitation would then be required to go out, if there's no.
There isn't any, that's what I'm saying, I don't think there is any.
Okay, but you had made a request for the solicitation for me to send it out.
Okay, I was thinking prior to July 1st, that's
Okay.
what my mind was thinking. And I was told that none of those funds would be carried over into fiscal year, so we had a misunderstanding, I guess, in the emails, so we just have to talk more. I apologize for my misunderstanding, you were just coming from it from two different ways.
With the permission of the chair,
Yes.
if I may.
Yes, absolutely,
I originally came just as a resident to observe,
yes.
and I did have a couple comments, but there were general comments that could be addressed at comments and concerns time in the meeting. But I would like to, so I'm really here initially just as a resident, but given the discussion and what's happening, I'd like to speak now on behalf of finance. And I've got a couple of questions about all this, because something seems a little, well, confusing, I guess. So, well, first of all, I wrote down a couple questions here. Have the assessors spoken with the other finance team members, meaning treasurer and accountant, about the importance of having a full-time assistant assessor?
We haven't, but it's on my list to do. We
Okay,
absolutely
all right,
have
very good.
not
You
on my
haven't,
list.
okay.
Yeah.
How much has been spent in, let's say, last fiscal year, on consultants to cover, not training, but to cover assessing functions that an assistant assessor would be responsible for if one were in place? Do we have any
No.
grasp on that?
We have $10,000 that have been used to help me, no. So nothing's been,
Okay, so
If you're s-
you have been providing the assistant assessor functions for the assessor office.
the assessor's responsibility as a board, yes.
But as a board, your job isn't to be doing the assessing necessarily,
Mhm.
it's oversight.
Well,
So are
it's-
you providing assessor, okay,
Yeah.
I dislike the terms, but that's beside the point whether I like it or not. The assistant assessor
Mhm.
does the assessing functions typically.
To assist the board if needed, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I understand that the board approves abatements and excise exemptions and all these kinds of things. But my impression, and I'm totally ignorant about this, so I have an impression that the assistant assessor does the legwork, does the actual day-to-day types of functions to assist the board, so that when you have your meetings, you can approve or deny abatement and other things that need approval. So the assistant assessor doesn't provide that approval, the board does, but they do the legwork to prepare it for you to make that decision. Is that an accurate?
That is if the assessor would like that help for that responsibility.
Okay,
These are the responsibility that the assistant assessor is responsible for doing,
okay, right, and so, so they're doing a lot of,
the same thing.
yeah, okay, and so typically, traditionally, historically in Warren, there's been an assistant assessor who's providing that takes efforts and time and numbers, and there's work being done there.
Mhm.
So you're saying that none of the consultant expenses from last fiscal year went towards that kind of work? It
It
was all
went towards
for,
the training of the board.
it was all for training for the
No,
board, okay.
and went there. So I would say it would be about 10,000, because that's all that was allocated,
But for training,
just for the board. None went to anyone doing that work. That was you wanted to know how much
Right.
for training?
okay, all right, hold on. Could I see that paper again,
Absolutely.
if I may? So this work,
Yes,
was any training done to the board
yes,
to do this work?
yes.
was any of this work done by a consultant?
No.
Okay, that's my question. So all of the monies that's been spent on consulting wasn't to provide what I'm gonna call assessing, it was done for training
Mhm.
of assessing.
Yes.
You see the distinction I make?
I am.
One is training, one is the actual work.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's helpful. How much time are you spending, and when I say you, I presume it's mostly you, Deb. I know it's not Christian, because he just came on the board, and I just don't know how much involvement you have,
No,
Jack.
it is,
It's
mostly
basically
Deb.
Deb, yeah. So how many hours in the past year have you spent doing this work?
Learning this work, I have to tell you, I haven't thought of it, I'm serving the board.
Okay, but I have a question.
So if you
In a
remind
given week,
me-
in a typical week,
If-
how much time are you here in the office? Or maybe you're doing it, you could be doing it from home for all I know, I'm not trying to,
I'll have to think on that,
okay,
I'll have to think on that.
okay. You don't have any rough estimate?
No.
Okay.
it's gonna vary, I'm sure,
Okay.
based on,
Okay. And, okay. So now I just have, this is kind of a redirection to primarily Jim's question about what is the board's intention? Last June, not this past June, I'm sorry, my apologies. Yeah, June of 2024. Yeah, over a year ago, so 14 months ago. In your meeting minutes, you have discussion on vacant positions,
Mhm.
assessor and clerk.
Mhm.
And the following month, discussion on vacant positions with Mr. Ferrera, discussed re-advertising in September of '24, and something about that Deb will reach out to Boston to inquire about the process and program for assistant assessor trainee. So I have a question, what happened to those discussions?
We didn't really get any applicants. I did, Boston has what they call assistant
Okay,
assessor.
okay, hold on one second, Deb, I want to clarify.
I'm sorry.
What happened with your discussions about it? I'm not asking you what happened, like there were no applicants or anything like that.
Well, we advertised.
Because that's Jim's real question.
Yeah,
Is what is the board's intention to fill the vacancy?
right.
That's a different question from whether it got filled or not. What's the board's intention? Because back then, it sounds like there was an intention to fill the vacancy.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm asking. And so so this is an aside, and this is one of the comments I was gonna make
Mhm.
was, a discussion about the vacancy without any other notion about what the discussion, so what was the result of the discussion, that should be reflected in your minutes.
Okay.
So
we'll make
just some
sure
input on that.
Thank you for that.
So here we are today, a year later, and that's what Jim's question is so over the last year, there's been no further discussion, there's been no further addressing. It's my impression that, so back to my first question, you haven't spoken with the other finance team members? You have
I-
not?
I have not. Usually,
Okay.
we have a monthly finance meeting.
I know-
Okay, I'll leave it. The answer is no.
Yeah, okay, the answer's no. So I have to opine. That's unacceptable.
Mhm.
It's very unacceptable. You need to be talking to the other finance team members, because in my
Of
discussions
course.
with them,
Mhm.
they are convinced and adamant, can't say it overly enough, they need an assistant assessor, a full-time assistant assessor.
Mhm.
They need that. So that's the input, you can get that input yourself from them.
Mhm.
So, don't take it from me. Go and talk to
I absolutely will.
Don and go and talk to
Thank you.
Jackie. Go and talk to Carrie.
Mhm.
They all consistently and emphatically indicate that I don't mean to impugn anyone personally, but as we all know historically, there's been some problems with this office. It way predates you guys, so I'm not pointing any fingers here. And that, there is definitely within the town's officials, finance team at least, a clear impression that this department is still not functioning well. And I don't mean, again, I want to be fair here, I'm not trying to impugn anyone personally. I know you're very competent, Deb. Jack, I don't know you at all. I do know Christian just a little bit. He seems like he's a fine man. I think he's gonna be a great addition to your board, okay? I know this guy over here, he's cool, and of course, we all know Jim's exceptional as a town administrator. That finance team member though, we gotta do something about him. So, in all seriousness, it's not meant to impugn anyone in a personal
Yeah,
way.
we've heard you.
And so, I'll stop with that and just simply say that, yeah, I'm also, as a member of the finance committee, really concerned that the finance team here in town, and Jim, and myself, and the rest of the finance team are concerned that this has gotta be addressed, it's gotta be addressed immediately, and you gotta have a real plan, and, I guess that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
is that
thank you.
it's-
It's
yeah,
noted. Yeah.
So,
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it seems to me, if I may, so when I first came on board here, this office was kind of in turmoil, and not,
sure,
and I had nothing to do with straightening it out, but we didn't have a secretary, we had Dawn who was sick, and so it was basically Deborah doing everything. So now we're kind of building it up and trying to see where our shortcomings are and what we need to improve upon for positions. Now we have Jackie, she seems to be filling the role very well. We've
Yep.
got Deborah and myself, and now Christian here. So I think that, we're at a point where we're trying to discover what we're lacking, if anything, as far as from adding an additional person to the office. So, again, we are here on the ground floor, and
Absolutely.
we don't necessarily see the need for a full-time position here. And that's just based on what we see Jackie doing and the time that Deborah and I have been spending. And if there's something that needs to get done, Deborah does put in the extra hours. Now, if you're saying that that's beyond what she should be doing, and so we need to hire somebody else to do that, she's willing to serve the community and do what it takes to get this office running. And I don't think you've really shown us to be lacking and not fulfilling our obligation as a city and the town. So,
well, just to respond to that.
yep,
I personally, well, I do have one little example.
okay.
Deb, I don't know if you remember, it was last year sometime, might have been a full year ago now. When I go on the assessor map and I look up a property and who owns it, and my name is misspelled, who's responsible for that?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever got a response.
No, typos happen. Whoever puts it in, it could have been me. I mean, we
Okay,
changed
but-
it. We've
But
reflected.
but there's a systematic,
Mhm.
someone does that.
Yeah,
Is it you, is it Worcester, do we know who
it
does
was,
that?
it could have been me for my typo, definitely.
Okay, because there's a number of them, and it's not like I'm searching the database, I'm just randomly coming across things, because I'm looking up, my son had a residence here at one time, and I looked up the current owner of it, and it's misspelled, and you did fix, I think you fixed the one on our property, because that was my initial thing and whatnot. And so, all I gotta say is that there's plenty of work to be done.
Yeah.
So I can't really speak directly because I don't really have, but I am giving you anecdotal evidence that Carrie and Dawn and Jackie and I don't wanna implicate, I think I know.
He's implicating
I
himself.
think I know what Jim would say,
No,
is they all feel strongly
and
that
I-
there should be an assistant
right.
assessor, full-time person working here. And
Okay.
if there's moments of downtime, I'm sure
Right.
that could be addressed more easily and more readily to give them something to do, so they're not just milking the town's expense line with their salary, to, rather than when there is a need, that
Mhm.
in the fall, you're gonna be putting 60 hours a week in?
Well, that's.
if,
Because I know it's gonna get busy
Right.
very
Sure.
very soon here.
For me personally, I've heard everything everyone has said.
Yep,
We need time to talk and process
sure,
it. Does
sure,
it mean
yeah, no, I'm
tomorrow,
not,
whatever?
obviously, it's not time to make a decision at
I'm
the moment.
not
but,
making a decision. I said I was gonna speak to the people. I will speak to them.
Yep,
And that is on my list.
okay,
This office was empty when we came in. There was nobody here.
yeah, no, I know.
There was
I
piles
know
of
the issue.
papers that had to be worked through. And I think we worked through enough of that paper to put it where it is. And to see a little bit above what this office needs.
Okay,
And we'll see where that goes.
Madam Chair, if I may, I think that you and the board has done yeoman's effort into trying to bring the office up to date, and you, I know, who I've seen directly here on Fridays, on the weekends, have put in a lot of time and a lot of energy into doing this work. And I think that is commendable, and I'm here to say thank you for your ability to do that and to commit that amount of time. The reason why I'm here is just to try to get a better understanding of the long-term plan for the office, not only for the financial implications that it has for the town, but long-term. And as elected officials, I was one of them at one time, they come and they go. And so, we're looking to have a more stable approach
Right, I agree.
to this office. And whether that be soliciting candidates for the position of assistant assessor, or, as I mentioned before, going in a different direction in a model where our neighboring community has privatized. Whatever the board may choose, I would be more than willing to work with them
Right.
on either of those options. If this continues to go on longer, I will be forced to make a recommendation to the FinCom to not fund that assistant assessor position in the future, because of the fact that I feel as though the taxpayers are paying for a service they're not getting it.
I would agree.
So, that's my only thing here. I'm not here to criticize, I'm not here to offer any, jokes or votes about what your job, what you're doing. I think you're doing a yeoman's effort, and I commend all of you for serving, and thank you for serving, and I continue to look forward to working with you in whatever direction you may choose.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Anything else? Are you ready to move on?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, good.
Okay, so the next thing is we have some correspondence. And it's just from the Department of Revenue saying that our LA 13A was approved and submitted. That is the form for our MIT and revised. That it was approved. So that was the correspondence we got for that. It's just, I submitted the form, just so you know, that was the only communication that we had. And that's from recommended and revised. The other ones, approval of minutes from July 1st, 2025. So take a look at them, those are just the minutes. We'll add some more detail. We'll go to Christian, you weren't here.
I'll
You
abstain,
can-
thank you.
We got to vote to approve.
Okay.
Can you make a motion, or you can't make a motion?
I can't vouch for the minutes
So I
because I
make a
wasn't at the
motion
meeting.
that we approve our minutes.
Yep. I second the motion.
Next one is our bill from Catalyst for our PLO system. Vote to pay that bill. This is, you can look it over.
Okay, and this is due, okay, net 30 terms.
Yeah.
How
that's-
often is this, oh, this
This
is
is
an
new.
annual renewal?
That's our annual review, and that's where we have all of our data. I don't know what it is.
Right, this is what integrates with the Access GIS system, right? I'll make a motion to approve the bill, accept the bill.
Second. Usually we just sign the bottom.
Okay, I'll do that.
You have to make a motion for this, right?
Next one is the warrant for the motor vehicle commitment. Number 4. It's for the motor vehicle, number 4, excise tax that went on.
This is like a procedural.
It's a procedural, so this is
Yeah.
signed, this is a warrant, it goes to Carrie, gets the original, we get a copy, and then a copy will be approved.
Okay, and I sign on one of these 3 lines.
Yes. Warrant for Carrie. And usually at the end of the month, we have to do a transaction report, which is, we give it to the accountant and to the treasurer of how many motor vehicles is the only thing that's happening right now that goes through. So we have to approve. Vote that we approve the transaction report for, make a motion that we approve the transaction report for 7/1/2025 to 7/31/2025. Second?
Yeah.
Second?
Motion to approve, accept.
Yeah, they just, what are they? So, old business? Old business? I actually have some old business. It's actually with recording, Travis, having us record more often, but he's here, so.
Okay. What's that, does that require a greater advance notice to help him make sure he's available? How does that work?
We haven't even got to that point, but he
Okay.
is here, and so we're gonna work all
Yeah, I
that
mean,
out.
ideally, I usually watch
Yeah,
the postings, to see when meetings are. Most boards kind of hold them at around the same times, so I
yeah,
usually
ours
have
is
an
a little
idea
bit
when
more
they're getting held.
fluctuating.
Obviously, more advance notice, the better, but like I said, there are some meetings we don't find out. We find out on Monday when it's posted that, oh, they're doing a meeting Wednesday, so.
Okay, I understand.
Our only request is, the biggest thing is, ideal locations would either be the selectmen's room or the finance room, because those rooms are already wired to our studio for recording
Okay.
versus me having to bring all this down.
Yeah, so from my understanding from him is that we can open in, open session there and then just walk back down here
For executive
for
session.
executive session. We don't have to stay there,
Okay.
so that would be good. And just open to record our votes, but it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be televised. So
Okay.
if everyone's okay with that, then
Yep.
we'll start that procedure.
If I could interject one more time,
Oh,
I
I'm
apologize, but
sorry.
it's pertinent to this topic we're on. Do you have a copy of the announcement about the meetings being recorded?
Yes.
They're in the selectman's office.
Yeah, I
Like,
can
just-
make more of those and
Yeah,
then.
yeah. So what, if you don't, they reside on the selectman's office DS, so it's right there, but just, again, just one of those little things that,
Yeah, I didn't know. who
it's
was doing
ideal
it.
for, when, you know, that it's announced and it's recording, and then
If anyone else is,
recording,
yeah.
to let you know and all that
Thank
kind of
you
stuff,
for
yeah.
that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Comments and concerns?
So, if I may, any comments or concerns from the board first? I don't wanna jump the gun here, but just, I think we've addressed most things other than, so your minutes, I know last year's minutes, that's why I was able to pull them up from last year, but I haven't seen any minutes posted for since calendar 25.
Right, our scanner was broken, we were having problems with our printer
Okay.
and all of that, and we didn't meet too much. There's about, this one will be posted and some other will be
Okay.
posted. We just got a new,
Just, and I don't care if they're posted on the web or not, but they're available if I wanted to look at them for some reason. Then they're filed here in the office.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all that was, but,
Yes.
if they could be posted, that's ideal, but I don't care. That, to me, that's just a convenience to
Mhm.
the public, if anyone would be interested. And, yeah, so minutes posted, and I think everything else has been addressed that I was,
Okay,
gonna make a comment on. So thank you.
well, thank you. So I make a motion that we close open session at 3:55 and adjourn to executive session.
I second.